We're playing Desire Tide, a High Tide Mind's Desire Legacy combo deck that also uses Time Spiral and then a brand new card from Bloom Burrow, Thundertrap Trainer. Let's go check it out. This video is proudly sponsored by Card Market. This is the deck list that we will be playing today, Legacy Desire Tide, and it's all thanks to James Robertson. James wanted to see High Tide here on the channel, so James went to theepicfirm.com/donation decks and made it happen. You could do the same thing, and now we're going to showcase one of James's ideas, which is Thundertrap Trainer. For 2 mana, you get a 1/2 Otter Wizard with Offspring 4, and then when it enters, you can look at the top 4 of your deck, put a non-creature, non-land card from those to your hand, the rest on the bottom in any order, or a random order. Okay, so what is Offspring 4? You can pay 4 mana and copy this spell when it enters. Okay, so that means that in your High Tide deck, this card that makes a ton of mana because all your islands tap for an additional blue, and then we untap them with things like Claw of Faeries or Snap, which, by the way, you could snap your own Thundertrap Trainer to make mana. And then you untap them with Time Spiral, essentially make a ton of mana, and then that means that the Thundertrap Trainer digs for cards like Mind's Desire, or Time Spiral, or even the High Tide when you're looking for it. So this card is basically Impulse with upside in our deck because we're playing Snap. And I think that's really, really interesting. So James found a piece of gold. I think that this card is perfect for the deck. So James, I'm sorry to inform you, I did make a change to your deck list. Playing 61 cards, not acceptable, ever. I'm sorry, it's not right. So I cut a Mind's Desire and put it in the sideboard over a Narset Parter of Veils. The Narset didn't make a lot of sense to me to begin with, outside of like the fun thing with Time Spiral. So we're just not playing it. And instead, we are, just going to win the game with the Mind's Desire out of the sideboard that you can then retrieve with your Fae of Wishes. If you're worried about Emrakul the Aeon Storm, we do have a Jace Wielder of Mysteries, so you could just exile your deck to Mind's Desire, play the Jace, and win that way. So there's an Emrakul on our sideboard. That's pretty weird, because you can't get it with Fae of Wishes. This is on purpose. James likes Emrakul versus the Painter decks in the format, and then on top of that, you can cast it off of Mind's Desire. So that is why this is in the sideboard today. There are no copies of Force of Will. Instead, we're playing Vexing Bauble because only 4 Force of Will doesn't feel very good against the blue decks. And then sometimes it's not good enough against the combo deck. So hopefully Vexing Bauble is enough to bridge the gap against all of these archetypes while being good enough. And if it's not good in those matchups, you can just cycle it to draw a card. So a quick note about that. Mind's Desire plays spells for free. Vexing Bauble says spells that are free get countered. That's a little bit of a nombo. So if you have no mana floating, Mind's Desire will not work. So you need at least 1 blue mana after to get rid of this. We're playing Sapphire Medallion today because it works well with your Claw of Faeries and your snaps with making mana. It takes a little bit of the pressure off High Tide as well, which is one thing that I found playing like the Candelabra of Taunos lists, is that there's a lot of pressure on High Tide, and this Sapphire Medallion sort of takes that pressure off, and I've always liked that. So that is my deck tech today. James, thank you once again for supporting the channel with this donation deck. Everyone else, I hope to see you in the first round. Don't go anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicfirm.com/shop, or submitting a donation deck via theepicfirm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to match number 1. We are on the play with Desire Tide. Yeah, we'll keep this. Hopefully the Ponder finds a High Tide. Our opponent has taken a mulligan. Okay. We'll play the basic island and Ponder. Sapphire Medallion and a Brainstorm. I think that this is worth keeping. We will pass. Tundra into Ponder. Yep. And they did not shuffle with the Ponder. We will play the Sapphire Medallion. Force of Negation exiling Brainstorm. They play Flooded Strand. for a tropical island up the Beanstalk. Okay. So we know that there's another time spiral we're about to draw. And then we could play Brainstorm looking for another Sapphire Medallion or High Tide. Vexing Bauble. We'll put back double time spiral here. And then let's play the Vexing Bauble. And we'll just fetch in our main phase because why not? We'll grab the basic, pass the turn. We are in a High Tide waiting room at the moment. Okay. Mystic Sanctuary. That's actually not bad here. We'll play the Mystic Sanctuary, put the Ponder back on top, and then let's pass the turn. They search out a Xander's Lounge, and then Leyline Binding will draw off the Bauble. So now the Leyline Binding does nothing, however, the Vexing Bauble is gone. They play a Savannah, 4 cards in hand. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Sure. They put another land into play. And I would really like to find High Tide. Snap. Alright, High Tide waiting room. There it is. With a Vexing Bauble if we want to try to be a little bit more patient. Let's play the Bauble. Bauble resolves and we will pass. The Mystic Sanctuary. Back the Force of Negation. That's not good. So we're drawing the High Tide, but I don't want to play it into the Force of Negation. That seems silly. Alright, land number 6. And our opponent plays Ponder. So we're going to draw a card we don't want here, a Lorien Revealed. And I think that we should just cycle it for a land. Play the island, pass the turn. And our opponent plays Brainstorm. They fetch with Flooded Strand, 4 cards remain. For a Meticulous Archive. Gets rid of Misty Rainforest. And they found a Leyline Binding, so we're going to cycle this Vexing Bauble. We find Ponder. And now they're drawing up to 5 cards. Another land. So now they have enough mana to play Uro plus Hardcast Force of Negation. Yep, you got it. So they'll draw a card up to 5 here. And then the Uro does not sacrifice. Let's just play High Tide. So our deck doesn't have countermagic in it, so I can't stop the Force of Negation or Force of Will here. And there goes Force of Negation. They still have 4 cards in hand. We'll Ponder. I think I'm going to shuffle this. Because if I keep the Thundertrap Trainer, like, those aren't really cards that I want to see. Let's play Brainstorm. Another Vexing Bauble. We'll get rid of the Time Spiral and a land. Play Vexing Bauble. Okay. And now we can fetch. I tapped for mana first on accident, but it's fine. And I think I'm going to snap the Uro here just so that way they don't gain card advantage. We'll untap 2 lands. And then let's play the Thundertrap Trainer. We'll take another snap. Pass the turn. So next turn I could also look into just double Cloudifairy Snap Mind's Desire without High Tide. Another land. They play the card 6 from their hand. They still have the Uro in there. And they've left open Hardcast Force of Will. We find a Lorien Revealed. I'm just going to hardcast that to see if I can draw a Hardcast Force of Will. And we do. We will pass the turn. We get attacked. 6 happens. No lands, but they did mill a Force of Will. And now our opponent plays a Hardcast Lorien Revealed. And another Leyline Binding. We will sacrifice the Vexing Bauble. So in this game, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Baubles have not been as good as Force of Will because our opponent has been able to play around Vexing Bauble. Where if I had a Force of Will earlier, I could have forced through my High Tide, but that wasn't a possibility while holding Vexing Bauble. They play Tamio, Inquisitive Student. Okay. We will play our land. I guess I could Ponder first, looking for another High Tide. Let's try it. I mean, they probably have another Force of Will, though. And we do find the High Tide. We'll take it. Play High Tide. It actually resolves. Wow. Okay, play Faeries. Now we get to untap up to 2 lands. We'll play another Faeries. Untap up to 2 lands. And now we'll tap 2 lands and snap the Thundertrap Trainer. Oh no, he swords to Plowshares. I didn't see that coming. And now we can Mind's Desire for 7. If I switch to my second main phase, they can't have Consigned to Memory in their hand. That's probably worth it. I mean, they're not likely to have it in game 1, but it's pretty free to play around here, in my opinion. Mind's Desire for 7. We see Ponder, Time Spiral, Time Spiral, Time Spiral, Brainstorm, Time Spiral number 4, and another Mind's Desire. Okay. Let's play Ponder. Let's shuffle those. Play Brainstorm. Okay, none of this really matters. We'll play Time Spiral. It resolves, we'll untap our lands. Their Tamiyo will trigger because of me. Our storm count's already very high. But I guess I want to increase it just a hair for Mind's Desire. We'll put back 2 fetch lands. There's the Fae. That's what we needed here. We'll play Snap Bouncing. Wait, I should tap for more mana first. We will bounce a Faeries. Untap, untap. Make some more mana. Play Faeries again. Storm is now 13. Okay. And now we will Mind's Desire for 14. We want to find a Vexing Bauble so that way we can play our Fave Wishes into Brain Freeze that's protected. We are resolving all of our copies of Mind's Desire one by one. We hit another Mind's Desire. Let's play Sapphire Medallion. Play a Brainstorm. This is spell number 16. We'll put back a land and Lorien Revealed. Play the Medallion. And now we'll Mind's Desire for 18. Alright, so I'll play another Sapphire Medallion because I can. Play Vexing Bauble. Our opponent plays a Force of Will. We'll play another Vexing Bauble. Another Force of Will. Just upping that storm count. But about a third Vexing Bauble. It appears that one has resolved. Cool. Alright, so I will now play Granted for 1 blue mana. We will grab Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. Play the Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. And then target myself. Yay, we win. Alright, so that was game number 1. Make this a little bit larger. My last video was a vintage video, so I had to make it smaller to accommodate everything. We likely want our Flusterstorms here. I think I still want the Vexing Bauble. What to sideboard out? We probably don't need Echoing Truth. And then I'll board out like a Lorien Revealed and maybe 1 Snap, just because we're not facing a creature deck. I mean, it's a little bit janky, this sideboard plan, but I think it's fine. Game number 2, we're on the draw, and I'm going to try it. Misty Rainforest, sure thing. 4 Tundra into Tamiyo. Okay. We'll play the island, pass the turn. Blooded Strand, the Tamiyo swings, they create a clue. And Brainstorm, this will transform the Tamiyo into the Planeswalker half on the back. And then they plus the Tamiyo. High Tide, not a bad draw. Let's play Brainstorm. Get rid of a Time Spiral and the Fae of Wishes. I will fetch. Pass the turn. Interesting, they didn't fetch with their Flooded Strand, so they wanted the top card of their deck. Up the Beanstalk. Okay. My best draw would be a Faeries at the moment, and it's not even close. So we're hoping for a Faeries off the top. Alright, deck, pretty please give me Faeries. Mind's Desire. That is not going to be good enough. We'll play the island. We'll play the Thundertrap Trainer. Pick up Snap. Or maybe I should just grab the Sapphire Medallion. Yeah, we'll take the Medallion. Vexing Bauble. They resolved. Wow. We will pass. They plus Tamio. They can ultimate next turn. And our opponent plays a Ponder. They shuffled off the Ponder. And a Brainstorm. Struggling to find that third land, it seems. I'm willing to bet that they let the Vexing Bauble go because they had a Leyline Binding in hand. And they told themselves that they could just play Leyline Binding assuming they found a fetch land for the Xander's Lounge. But it seems our opponent just found nothing. We find Flusterstorm. So we will play High Tide. I guess it doesn't really matter the order. I'll play Mystic Sanctuary. We'll put High Tide on top. And the Sanctuary will still tap for 2 mana. We'll tap it. Boom. 2 mana. Alright, we'll play the Sapphire Medallion. I will play Snap, picking up the Thundertrap Trainer. Untap 2 lands. And now we'll play the Trainer. I'm not going to use the Offspring. We'll take the High Tide. Play High Tide. And now these make even more mana. And I'm going to Time Spiral. I could Mind's Desire, but it's only for 6. And I'd have to get rid of my Vexing Bauble. And I don't want to do that. And this should be a pretty easy win from here. We'll play Sapphire Medallion. And another Medallion. We'll play Brainstorm. Put back 2 lands. High Tide. We'll Ponder to shuffle. Actually, the Snap's pretty good. We'll take the Snap. All the mana in the world. We'll pick up our Thundertrap Trainer. And this is sort of the dreamland that this card was designed for. So we'll play the Thundertrap Trainer with Offspring. Alright, so we get to create a copy of it now. So we get to Impulse twice. We'll take another Sapphire Medallion. And now the other one will happen. We'll take a Brainstorm. We'll play Medallion number 4, because that's the kind of life I live. Brainstorm. We'll put back the land and a Mind's Desire. We'll play High Tide. Snap to pick up the original Thundertrap Trainer. Untap, untap. We'll make a bunch more mana here. Thundertrap Trainer with Offspring. And now the token. I made a joke on the podcast. I'm on the Eternal Glory podcast, by the way, to Phil about the ability Offspring. And I was like, yeah, do you have to keep the token and the original separated? Completely went over Phil's head. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. All right, so now the second one. We'll take another High Tide because I can. All right, and now Mind's Desire for a mere 2 mana for 20 cards. And the opponent concedes. I love that for us. We are 1-0 to start off this Legacy League. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. We are on the draw for match number 2, and I believe that this hand is perfectly acceptable. We do want to find a High Tide or Sapphire Medallion, but this hand is still pretty darn good. Lotus Petal. Okay. Mox Opal. Grim Monolith. I really wish that this Vexing Bauble was a Force of Will right now. We're likely facing the Karn Forge deck. Manifold Key. Untaps the Grim Monolith. They have 2 cards remaining. The One Ring. Yep. We are in trouble. This is the downside of not playing Force of Will. Okay. We found the High Tide. That's good. So my decision here is, do I play out the Vexing Bauble or ponder looking for Faeries? If we found Faeries, we would actually be looking at a possible turn 2 win. But I think you're probably supposed to play the Vexing Bauble. And we'll pass. They draw 2 cards using the One Ring. We'll just have to hope for a Faeries off the top rope. City of Traders. 5 mana here for a Paradox Engine. I believe we are dead. This is brutal. Yup. No Force of Will, no fun. Alright, I'm not going to waste my time. They've won game number 1. Ugh, devastating. Flusterstorm isn't even good against this deck. So, like, am I even supposed to sideboard? Harkle's Recall also not very good against this deck. I think Echoing Truth is actually better due to your own synergies with Faeries. I think we're supposed to just resubmit. Alright, on the play. Nope. I guess so. It's a little sketchy. Bottom a copy of High Tide. We'll play Polluted Delta. We'll fetch. Grab an island. Vexing Bauble. Pass the turn. Urza's Saga. Into Voltaic Key. We did not find the second land. We'll play Brainstorm. We did find it. Alright, so we'll put back High Tide and Mind's Desire. Play Misty Rainforest and pass. The Urza Saga goes to the second chapter, Ancient Tomb. I want to Brainstorm on the end step, because I think I want to try to win on turn 3, and I don't want to have to use the mana that turn. I would also like to find land number 3 here. That was not bad. We'll put the 2 time spirals on top. So if I go High Tide, Faeries, untap. If this was an island, I think we could try to win here. But because it's a Mystic Sanctuary, it doesn't work. We'll play Sapphire Medallion. Hope that we're able to untap. They create a construct token. And now Urza Saga goes to the final chapter. And they do not make a construct. They grab another key. 3 mana for a Basalt Monolith. Urza's Workshop. And now they can make mana using the Manifold Key plus Basalt Monolith. And then the same thing with Voltaic Key. So they have a lot of mana here. Mystic Forge. They untap Basalt Monolith for another key. They untap the Monolith again, going up on mana this time. So now they have 4 mana, another key. Untaps the Basalt Monolith up to 5 mana. Karn the Great Creator. Okay. They have 2 mana right now. Oh, another key off the top. Wow. That's insane. They untap the Basalt Monolith. They use Karn the Great Creator for a Disruptor Flute. Okay, they play the flute. They probably name High Tide. And they do. Can I win? So Faeries, I float 1. So I play Faeries. Untap. Brings me up to 4 mana, which is not enough. Wow, this not like we drew the 1 land in the deck last turn that didn't let us win and we got punished. I also can't sacrifice the Vexing Bauble due to Karn the Great Creator. We're just 1 mana short. The High Tide costs 4 to play and I don't have 4 mana. But I would actually need 5 for then to play the Fairies, so they got me. Devastating turn the way that played out. We are now 1-1. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Token Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $14.99. This combo token pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens. That includes our classic Storm and mana tokens as well as fan favorites such as Goblins, Squirrels, and Slime Time Live. But that's not all. We've expanded this token pack to cover a variety of formats with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. For round number 3, we're on the play. Let's try to bounce back here. Good hand, we will keep. We'll play Polluted Delta, and then we'll search out a basic island. There it is. Play the Vexing Bauble, and pass the turn. Basic Mountain into Vexing Bauble. And no, it makes me bleed my own blood. Alright, so we find Mind's Desire. We'll play Thundertrap Trainer. We'll take Sapphire Medallion. Pass the turn. Our opponent plays City of Traders into Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Okay. Let's cast Brainstorm. Things are looking decent, but the problem is I can't actually use the Mind's Desire with a Vexing Bauble in play. So we'll get rid of Mind's Desire. I could try to win right now. It would have to be off the draw 3 of Lorien Revealed. I think I'm going to just pass for now. I might try it next turn, but I feel like trying to force a turn 3 when I don't need to might not be the best idea. Our opponent discards Blood Moon and Shatterskull Smashing to the Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. They swing. No blocks. So I'll be honest with you, I was thinking about this after I passed the turn. I should have put the Medallion on top, but I don't know what card is on top. So I'm going to sacrifice the Bauble, and hopefully I draw the Medallion. And if I don't, I'm going to just take the draw step. Pyrogoyf. Sure. They're going to kill our Thundertrap Trainer. No, you're going to deal it to me. Okay. You got it. We'll draw off the Bauble. Hey, it's the Medallion. Everything worked out. Fetch. We'll grab a basic, and now let's try to win the game. Scalding Tarn. Let's put Brainstorm on top. Mystic Sanctuary. And then we'll target Brainstorm. That goes on top of the deck. High Tide. And then we'll play another High Tide. Sapphire Medallion. Make a bunch of mana. Play Quad of Faeries. We'll now untap 2 lands. Play another Cloud of Faeries. Untap 2 lands. And now we will play a draw 3. Let's go. We find Mind's Desire, which doesn't help us with the Vexing Bauble in play. So I could cycle this Cloud of Faeries to get a card deeper, which I think is probably the move here. So we'll cycle that. We find another Brainstorm. We'll Brainstorm. Everything worked out. So we'll put back Mind's Desire and the card Brainstorm. And now we'll cast the other Cloud of Faeries. We'll untap some lands. And then I'm going to snap the Thundertrap Trainer. Untap, untap. And then we'll play the Thundertrap Trainer with the Offspring ability. Sweet. So we have a copy of it. We'll grab another Brainstorm. And Ponder. Play Ponder. Storm 11. We find another High Tide and a Lorien Revealed. I think that this is worth keeping. We'll play High Tide. Brainstorm. And then we'll play Lorien Revealed. Time Spiral floating a bunch of mana. And by a bunch, I mean 4, but also islands that tap for a lot of mana. Okay. Let's play Ponder. I think we can shuffle this. Lorien Revealed. We'll play a High Tide. Play another Ponder. Shuffle those. Let's play a couple copies of Vexing Bauble. And then we'll draw cards off of those, just to get a little deeper into our deck. Okay, Storm is 20. We will cycle a Cloud of Faeries. Play another Sapphire Medallion. We'll snap a Cloud of Faeries. Actually, I just made a mistake. I should have picked up the Thundertrap Trainer, I think. We'll cycle the Cloud of Faeries. Although, off the top of my head, I don't know if Thundertrap Trainer can pick up Granted/Fey Wishes, which is what I'm looking for here. We will hardcast a Lorien Revealed. We find another Time Spiral. Okay, that's good. Play the Brainstorm. Put back a couple lands. We will snap the Thundertrap Trainer. Untap, untap. And then we'll play the Thundertrap Trainer with Offspring again. Okay. And then it triggers. And our opponent just decided to concede. I'm also good with that. Thank you. I don't think we need Vexing Bauble here. We'll bring in Echoing Truth, the Faeries Realm, and a couple copies of Hurkyl's Recall, maybe? Although I think Into the Flood Mob might be better than Hurkyl's Recall. A lot of these decks aren't even playing Chalice of the Void anymore. But I guess if they are, they're going to Chalice on 1. Alright, I talked myself into Hurkyl's Recall. We'll try this. Good hand. Keep. Leyline of the Void. Really? Sure, you got it. Yeah. Okay, turn 1 Shatterskull Smashing as their land. We'll play Basic Island. Pass. They play another land. Exile Simian Spirit Guide. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, you've got it. Sure. Mono Red enchantments over there. We find Mind's Desire. We will play Brainstorm. Not bad. We'll put back to Faeries Realm and Bay of Wishes. I was really hoping to find land number 3 there, but we didn't. So we'll pass. I think I might be able to try to win next turn even on 2 lands. It would involve our opponent playing another creature here, which I guess their Fable is going to transform into a creature. So that's probably fine. Oh, my bad. Wrong chapter. Ancient Tomb. They have 2 cards left. They attack and get to create a treasure. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Yup. A 3rd land would make my life a lot easier here if we could find it. I would also accept a Cloud of Faeries. Underneath my sideboard is a treasure token that is hiding, so they are not tapped out. We'll grab an island. Let's party. We redrew the Fae of Wishes. Okay, so if I go High Tide, Snap, we go up to 4 mana. Float mana, Snap, I go up to 6. Alright, High Tide. Snap the Goblin Shaman. Untap, untap. We will snap the Caves of Chaos Adventure. Untap, untap. Mind's Desire for 4. I could try the Thundertrap Trainer. I just don't trust it to hit, so I'm going to Desire for 4 instead. We find a land. Sapphire Medallion. Basic Island. And another land. That was terrible. So we'll play the Medallion. Play the Island. Play a Thundertrap Trainer. I guess we want to hit Snap here. We find another Desire. I'll take the Ponder. Play another Thundertrap Trainer. We'll take Time Spiral. Pass the turn. Our opponent goes a little bit deeper into the dungeon. This time they're choosing to scry 2. The Fable will now transform. They play a land. They still have the Caves of Chaos Adventurer in their hand. And there it is. And then a Broadside Bombardiers. And they decide to pass without attacking. Okay. We draw another land, which makes us 1 mana short of Time Spiral. Play Ponder. We have 3 High Tides remaining. None of that is good enough. We will shuffle. There's a High Tide. So it still leaves me 1 mana short of being able to cast Time Spiral this turn, because I would have 4 mana. Sapphire Medallion makes it 5, but I still can't cast the Time Spiral. I'm at 17. Next turn, they're going to go into Catacombs, and then they can copy going into Throne of the Dead 3. So things are looking very bad for me here. I guess I could just play Fae of Wishes and then pass with Echoing Truth up. So they create a 4/1 Menace. And now we Echoing Truth the Caves of Chaos Adventure with the Reflection of Kiki Jiki copy ability on the stack. So that way the ability will fizzle. Okay, so it looks like our trick worked. And now they're able to replay the the Caves of Chaos Adventure. And this will bring them into Throne of the Dead 3. So they'll get to look at the top, 10 cards of their deck, I believe. Yeah, top 10. And then put any creature in there into play with 3 +1/+1 counters. It can't be targeted, but it doesn't have haste. So that is the big thing here, is I am almost guaranteed another turn from 17 life. They did find a Pyroglyph. So that will enter and deal me 7, bringing me to 10. And then they can attack and then... Oh no, they took a Broadside Bombardiers instead. Okay, so what does that mean? They can swing. I can double block. I'll take 2. And then they can fling for 6 and 5. So 11. That doesn't kill me. We will block the 5/5 Broadside Bombardiers. I'm at 15. Not enough for lethal. They play Chrome Mox with no imprint. They fling the empty Chrome Mox at me to deal me 2. Alright, it's officially time to party. High Tide into Time Spiral. as spell number 2. So even if their last card in hand was Mindbreak Trap, it does not save them in this spot. Our lands will untap. We'll play another island. And I think I'm supposed to just Time Spiral again because our hand doesn't do anything here. Play Time Spiral. It resolves. Okay. We'll play Sapphire Medallion. And then let's hardcast Lorien Revealed. Play High Tide. Cast a Brainstorm. Put back 2 lands. Play Clod of Faeries. And then we'll untap those lands. Play Ponder, which will likely shuffle because we knew our top 2 cards were both lands. Storm is 9. We can pick up the Fae of Wishes by discarding these 2 lands we don't care about. And then let's tap a couple pieces of mana. We'll snap our Clod of Faeries. Untap, untap. We'll play Teferi's Realm just so that way, 1, Storm, 2, it's not in our deck for if we spiral again. We'll make some more mana. We'll play Clod of Faeries. Untap, untap. And now we will play Granted. I'll say yes. We'll go grab Mind's Desire. We'll play the Fae of Wishes from exile. And now we will Mind's Desire for 15. We'll play Sapphire Medallion and Fae of Wishes or / Granted. I guess it's actually Granted we want here. And then I'll grab a Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. We'll play Lorien Revealed. Play another High Tide. 8 cards left in our deck here. Play a Brainstorm because I can. We'll put back Hurkyl's Recall and Mind's Desire. Play another Sapphire Medallion. Make some more mana. We'll play Clod of Faeries. Storm is 21. 7 cards left in our deck. Let's Ponder. Take the Lorien Revealed. We'll cast Lorien Revealed. And now we can play Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. And Ponder. We'll shuffle because it doesn't matter. And then we will use the Jace to mill and win the game. If our opponent somehow responds, I can Brainstorm in response and win again on the stack. But instead, we just win, and now we're 2-1. If you're still watching, make sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. While you're near the description, here's a reminder to use our affiliate links if you're going to make a purchase from Amazon, Card Hoarder, or TCG Player. Just above those affiliate links, you'll find our social channels. Make sure to join those to connect with us. For round number 4, we're on the draw. I'm facing JamesKisau, who almost exclusively plays Grixis control decks. So we've opened up a hand that has the possibility of winning on turn 2. That said, we would have to draw like a Mind's Desire or, Time Spiral, something like that in order to make it happen. And we would need our spells to resolve. So I don't know if that's something we're interested in here. We'll just play Mystic Sanctuary past the turn. Polluted Delta. Very Badlands. Brutal. They take our Clod of Faeries with the Thoughtseize. Okay. Let's play our Thundertrap Trainer off the top rope. A good draw if we care about Snap. We'll take the Ponder. You could take the Snap, but I feel like it puts a lot of pressure on this Thundertrap Trainer to live, and that seems risky to me. Basic Swamp, okay. Mind's Desire. Let's Ponder. And now an Orcish Bowmaster's in response, which I kind of expected. So the question is, am I supposed to play around a Force of Will here? Because I could try to High Tide, Snap, go off in response. Let's High Tide. Snap the Trainer. Untap, untap. And now the Bowmasters can happen. So right now, I only have 4 mana. I need to find another way of making mana off this Ponder. None of that makes mana. We will shuffle. Snap. That was actually very good. Okay. That was, in fact, perfect. We will High Tide again. And now we will snap the Orcish Bowmasters. Untap, untap. We have 8 mana. I will play the Thundertrap Trainer. So this is going to be a Mind's Desire for 8. I want to leave the other Desire in the deck, so we'll take Sapphire Medallion. And then Mind's Desire. Because a Mind's Desire in the deck is worth more than 1 in the hand. We find a High Tide. Scalding Tarn, Vexing Bauble, another Vexing Bauble, another land. Things are not looking good here. Holy moly. Another land. Nothing? Whew. We found another Mind's Desire eventually. And I cannot afford to play these baubles, so I will not. Desire for 10. We find Snap. Things are looking better now. This is a turn 3 through Thoughtseize Orcish Bowmasters, by the way. Big fan. Big fan. Alright, so let's start off with... I thought there was a High Titan. Maybe I already played it. We'll play Cloud of Faeries. Untap. Tap for mana, we'll play Sapphire Medallion. We will snap on our Thundertrap Trainer. Untap our lands. We'll draw 3 with Lorien Revealed. We'll ponder. We'll shuffle those. Play another Sapphire Medallion. Play a Brainstorm. Put back the Vexing Bauble in the island. Play another High Tide because I need more mana. And I guess we'll hardcast the Lorien Revealed. So I'm going to redraw the cards I just put back off the Brainstorm. Play another Sapphire Medallion. We'll play another Thundertrap Trainer. Yeah, so I can't take Fave Wishes / Granted, which is a little awkward with the Thundertrap Trainers. We'll take a Ponder. We'll play Ponder. Keep these. We'll take Cloud of Faeries for now. Play the Cloud of Faeries. Untap. I guess I can play the Vexing Baubles for free and cycle off them instead of just leaving them in exile. Oh no! I forgot that playing them both immediately counters the other. I'm an idiot. Alright, so that was a mistake. Whoops. First time playing Magic, please forgive me. We'll play another Vexing Bauble. We'll draw a card. Let's play the Thundertrap Trainer. We'll take Lorien Revealed, I suppose. Let's draw 3. I'm trying to not time spiral if I don't have to. And there's the Fae of Wishes. So let's play Granted. Yes. We'll grab Brain Freeze. And I have a feeling that James will concede because James doesn't want me to see their deck. Sweet. We get game number 1. We'll bring in Flusterstorm. Get rid of Echoing Truth. I think we want the snaps. Maybe shave a Time Spiral versus the Bowmaster deck, and I can still grab it off of Fae of Wishes if need be. And maybe one Thundertrap Trainer. I'm down for trying this. Game number 2, we're on the draw, and I will keep Island into Ponder. Strong start. Brian Koval would approve. Misty Rainforest, we will fetch. Grab the island, and let's play Vexing Bauble. I was going to play Ponder, but I think Bauble resolving is just more important. Scalding Tarn. For Badlands once again. Is this a repeat of last game? Thoughtseize. So the problem with Thoughtseize here is if our opponent has if they take the Fae of Wishes and then they have Surgical Extraction in hand, we lose. But I don't know if that's a play pattern they want to do here. And it was something I thought about when sideboarding. I mean, I didn't verbalize it, but I was like, the odds that I have Fae of Wishes in hand that's then discarded, and then on top of that, them having Surgical, it's just like a lot of what ifs, and I'd rather not play around that. We'll play Ponder. I mean, these are all pretty good. We'll keep. Play the Flooded Strand, pass. Another Thoughtseize. Alright, I'll fetch. And let's Brainstorm. We'll hide the Fae of Wishes on the bottom, Flusterstorm on top. They take the Ponder. Okay. We'll draw the Flusterstorm. Pass the turn. On the end step, I will cycle Lorien Revealed. And we'll grab Mystic Sanctuary. High Tide is not bad. We'll play Mystic Sanctuary. Let's put Ponder on top. And then we'll pass the turn. And step they flash in an Orcish Bowmasters. Okay. And now they'll swing for 2. We'll go to 15. Ouch. Snapcaster Mage. Okay. And now they can play Thoughtseize. And I'm just going to Flusterstorm it. So this is a pretty good window for us to try to win the game here. Okay. So we'll begin with a High Tide, and then play Ponder. I don't think any of that's actually good enough. We're going to shuffle. Bay of Wishes. I don't believe that's good enough either. We'll snap the Orcish Bowmasters. Untap. And now I need like a perfect draw 3 off the Lorien Revealed. So we do have Granted for a sideboard card, but what am I going to do? Grab Brain Freeze? I can't grab Mind's Desire or Time Spiral with enough mana to play it. So I think we're better off just hoping for like Cloud Fairy Snap plus action spell. We find Ponder. We'll fetch. Play Ponder. Oh, wow. Oh, is that good enough? So we'll Brainstorm. I don't think it was good enough, but it was pretty good. All right, we'll take the Brainstorm. Play Brainstorm. We'll hide the High Tide on top. And then we'll pass. They have land number 4. And now they attack for 4. I'll go to 9. We know that one of their 5 cards in hand is Orcish Bowmasters. Surgical Extraction on High Tide. I am not in a spot where I can beat that. So I'm going to concede rather than show them my deck. And we can go to game number 3. So we now know that they have Thoughtseize Surgical. I mean, I could like try to board out a High Tide, but I don't think that's actually any good. Trying to figure out like what the best path forward is here. I think we'll bring in the Brain Freeze and board out 1 Fae of Wishes. And let's try it again. Game 3, we're on the play. Good. Good. Keep. Our opponent has also kept their 7. We'll play Island into Ponder. Keep these. They have first turn Scalding Tarn. I'm going to play the Sapphire Medallion. My concern here is Consigned to Memory, but if this resolves, we're in an amazing spot. And it does. They fetch with Scalding Tarn for Undercity Sewers. And they kept that card on top. Volcanic Island into Ponder. So they likely have a Pyroblast in hand if they're tapping these sewers, leaving open Volcanic Island, because we know that they're a Thoughtseize deck. So this is a sign that we can read here. They do not shuffle with Ponder. We're going to draw the Mind's Desire. We'll just play our Polluted Delta and pass. They play Polluted Delta, okay. And now let's try to bait out an Orcish Bowmasters. It just resolves. We'll put back Time Spiral and Ponder. And then let's attempt to fetch. Okay, and now I think we want to try to win. Another Mind's Desire. Would have liked to see land number 4 there. I'm going to choose to wait. We'll pass. I think just having 1 more land would make this a lot better. They grab Underground Sea. Calgan's Command. I am going to Flusterstorm that. They play Tamio Inquisitive Student, still with 6 cards in their hand. Alright, well, not anymore. They played a land that was interaction. So we know that they have cards they want to play. Another High Tide. I'll pass. I really want to land number 4. They attack, they get to investigate here. Create a clue. Land number 5 for them. They draw off the clue. They're probably digging for Thoughtseize. Like, maybe I should be trying to go. No Thoughtseize yet. I sort of found the land I wanted. Lorien Revealed. We'll grab Mystic Sanctuary, play the Sanctuary, and then I'm going to put Flusterstorm on top. And then we can pass the turn. They attack, and now they're going to Brainstorm, which will trigger the Tamio. So Tamio just became a Planeswalker. They plus the Tamio. They play another land for turn. Still 6 cards in their hand. We will attempt a High Tide. They've decided to let it resolve. We'll play another High Tide. Interesting. Let's try a Cloud of Fairies. No responses yet. Maybe they think that my Flusterstorm has just made it so that they want the tides to resolve, because then they could pay for Flusterstorms. Cloud of Fairies. Surgical Extraction on High Tide. You've got it. I do not care. May my Cloud of Fairies resolve now? They've decided no. Okay. No point in playing the Flusterstorm there. And let's attempt a Mind's Desire for 6. They make 2 blue. Nimble Obstructionist, a card that I cannot Flusterstorm. So I get 1 trigger here, or 1 Mind's Desire here. And they're going to Force of Will the 1 copy of Mind's Desire. I don't care that much about 1 copy of Mind's Desire. I'm going to respectfully pass. Okay. Our deck has no copies of High Tide in it, but I think that's okay. We still have Sapphire Medallion. I just need to draw another Cloud of Faeries. We'll be okay. They draw off the clue, and now they fetch with Polluted Delta. Ooh, the Surgical here on Mind's Desire. That's insane. Okay, I'm probably not winning anymore. Actually, just the nuts here. Yep. So they had a card that I could not Flusterstorm with Nimble Obstructionist, and then they had double Surgical essentially with the Snapcaster Mage. Their hand was stacked. My only hope of winning now is that I draw Insane Runners. Like, that's really it. Jace the Mind Sculptor. And now, okay, they're going to Brainstorm, but if they just started Fate Sealing me, like, that would also win the game. They could also just bounce their Snapcaster, and then that would work. But they returned Red Elemental Blast to their hand. Yeah, and I'm locked out, so I'm going to concede. Well played by the opponent, and now we are 2-2. With Card Hoarder, renting your favorite combo deck has never been easier. There isn't a more affordable solution for Magic Online. Want to play the deck in this video? Check out the pinned comment below to easily rent the deck from Card Hoarder. Did you know you can rent the Epic Storm from Card Hoarder for as little as 7 tickets a week? The final round with Desire Tide. We're on the draw. I'm going to choose to keep this. We do need a High Tide, but I think the hand overall is fairly good. Our opponent plays Polluted Delta into Basic Island. Ponder. Yep. They shuffled on the Ponder. Sapphire Medallion is a decent draw. We'll fetch with the Misty Rainforest. Grab an island. Let's play Vexing Bauble. It resolves. Pass the turn. They play Flooded Strand for a basic island. Stoneforge Mystic. You got it. Real 2012 energy right now. Another Ponder. We will fetch. I'll Ponder. I think I just want to find High Tide here. Unfortunately, I don't think we're allowed to keep those. Ponder again. I'm going to shuffle. Okay, pass the turn. Cavern of Souls. Spicy. They name human. And that is a Coldra complete, so they get a 5/5 haste with a bunch of other keywords here. I will take 5 down to 13. We find another Ponder. Let's play Ponder. I think I'll keep the Cloud of Faeries. It's better than a random draw. And then I'll fetch and play the Sapphire Medallion. Here it is. Okay, pass the turn. End step, they cast Brainstorm. So now they can attack for 6, putting me down to 6 life. Ouch. Another Polluted Delta. And they decide to pass the turn. We find Time Spiral, a card we wanted. So we'll play Cloud of Faeries. Untap. Make a couple more mana. Let's attempt a snap here on the Cloud of Faeries. Untap a couple more lands. We'll play another Cloud of Faeries. Untap. Let's try snapping the Cloud of Faeries again. Okay, everything seems to be working so far. Play Cloud of Faeries. Storm is 5. Untap our lands. We'll put Time Spiral on the stack. Floating 3 mana, Storm is 6. It looks like it resolves. Big fan. We'll play a High Tide. And let's play another Sapphire Medallion. Play Cloud of Faeries. So it's worth noting our opponent could hardcast a Force of Will due to us giving them blue mana, and then Vexing Bauble not stopping the hardcast, which is a concern of mine. We will play Lorien Revealed. Okay. Let's try a Ponder. We are looking for Mind's Desire at this point. Shuffle those. Try another Ponder. Time Spiral's good, but like we lose to a hardcast Force of Will. I'm really just digging for Mind's Desire. another Bauble. Let's try Ponder. I'll keep the Brainstorm this time. We'll fetch. Grab a basic. Let's play Brainstorm. We did not find the Desire. Let's attempt a Quad of Faeries, or snap on the Quad of Faeries. They paused and then let it resolve. Try another Quad of Faeries. Okay. We'll play the Sapphire Medallion. I'm going to try to bait them a little bit here. I'm going to see if I can get them to counterspell a Vexing Bauble. So by getting rid of one and then playing another, they might think this is my chance. Let's use a counterspell. They didn't, but they could have. And we'll draw another card. Play Bauble. Still not biting. Let's hardcast a Lorien Revealed. We find another snap. Let's try snapping Quad of Faeries again. They let it go. We'll untap. Play Quad of Faeries. Untap, untap. Play the Vexing Bauble. My Kingdom for a Mind's Desire. Thundertrap Trainer is good. Let's play it. Our opponent paused for a long time again and then let the Thundertrap Trainer resolve. I'm not sure what they're holding if they're just letting all of this resolve, but we'll see. I think I'm supposed to take the Brainstorm. I'm still just digging for Desire. Like, I feel like taking Time Spiral is a really big trap. No! It's so many cards we saw only to fizzle here. Wow. So I can Echoing Truth the Thundertrap Trainer and then try to spike a final Mind's Desire here. We'll play the Thundertrap Trainer. Actually, no, my Desire won't work because I would have needed to High Tide first. Because I only have 3 mana. It doesn't matter because I can't find Mind's Desire anyway. Guess we'll take the snap. Snap the Thundertrap Trainer. They're now fetching. They've been pausing a lot, so let's see what they're actually doing here. They search out a Tundra. They're doing something. Hardcast Force of Will? Yeah. Okay. We will pass. That was a really defeating turn. And there's a couple points this turn where if I could have taken Time Spiral, if these Vexing Baubles were Force of Will. Like, I think that this deck actually, the premise of it, ooh, they're actually breakfast. The premise of the deck is not bad. I just think the Vexing Baubles are bad. Like, the Thundertrap Trainers actually seem very good. It's just the rest of it that I'm not so sure of. So now we have to block. So if I block here, 4 is still getting in. So this puts me to 1. I guess I'll just do this. It shuts off like snaps and stuff, but my Polluted Delta could still get a land to make mana, which is probably more relevant. Okay. And now they ponder. They play a Flooded Strand. They move the Shuko. Okay. I don't know why that's relevant here, but okay. Nomads in Core. We find another High Tide. Let's play High Tide. We'll play another High Tide. And then draw a card using Vexing Bauble. We find a Ponder. Let's play the Ponder. Holy moly, we actually found Mind's Desire. Can you believe it? We'll fetch with Polluted Delta to pull a land out of the deck. Alright, Mind's Desire for 4. That has to be good enough if we're going to win this game. Let's go. We find another High Tide. Thundertrap Trainer, a Time Spiral, and another Time Spiral. We'll play High Tide. I'm going to play the Trainer without the Offspring, because if I pay for Offspring, I can't play another Mind's Desire off of this. And we completely bricked. Wow. Okay. We'll hope our opponent doesn't have double Force of Will. Time Spiral. It resolved. Wow. Okay. Let's ponder. Storm 8. So I believe we're actually going to win this game at 1 life, which is kind of wild. We'll take the High Tide. Play High Tide. Play Brainstorm. Put back Mystic Sanctuary and Bay of Wishes. Play another High Tide. Let's just draw 3 using the Lorien Revealed. Probably should have done that before the Brainstorm. We'll play Quad of Faeries. Untap a couple lands. Let's try a Granted. If this resolves, we should just win because I grab Brain Freeze and just deck them. They Force of Will, exiling Ponder. We will play a Ponder. We'll keep this. Draw 3 off the Lorien Revealed. We'll play Cloud of Faeries. I'm almost to the point where I can Mind's Desire the rest of my deck. I'm just worried about time at this point because I have 15 minutes on my clock and we're still in game 1. They Brainstorm in response to Cloud of Faeries. Okay. It will resolve, we'll untap. So much mana in our mana pool. Play another Cloud of Faeries. Untap. And now we will Mind's Desire for 21. Alright, so Mind's Desire. We found the other Fae of Wishes. We'll play Granted. Our opponent will fetch in response. They find an Underground Sea. And they Brainstorm. Granted back on the stack. They found another Force of Will, so now we have to Time Spiral. We don't have a choice. Might as well play the Sapphire Medallion. So that way I don't lose a blue mana here. Although I'm not going to tap my land, so I don't know why 1 blue mana matters. I don't feel like doing the untap thing. We'll play a Vexing Bauble. I guess I should switch phases, because then they lose their floating blue mana. I mean, I don't know how many times I've cast High Tide, but it's a lot. So this 1 Underground Sea might just be enough to be a pain in the butt. And now we will grant it again. Apparently the island's tap for 6. So we're close to winning, but not quite. They hardcast a Force of Will. Okay. We will Ponder. Looking for the other Granted. I'll shuffle. We find another High Tide. We'll draw off this Vexing Bauble. And we'll play Lorien Revealed. Draw 3. Play a Brainstorm. This game is taking forever. We found the other Granted. Perfect. Putting back 2 lands. I'll replay a Vexing Bauble. We will grant it again. We'll grab Brain Freeze. And Brain Freeze the opponent. You wanted to deck yourself so badly. I'm going to help you. Our storm count was so high I lost almost a minute clicking through all the copies of Brain Freeze. And that number is 35. Okay, so our opponent conceded rather than showing us their deck. We could bring in Fairy Macabres because they are good against Breakfast, just exiling the part that wins. That's an option. My concern is overboarding. I guess we could try boarding out the Sapphire Medallions and only being a High Tide deck. And then shave 1 Thundertrap Trainer and 1 Time Spiral. Let's try this. This is technically a hand. I'm going to keep it. I'm really leaning on my draw steps in this Ponder to find me more lands. Turn 1 Flooded Strand. Brainstorm is the draw. We will fetch and try to Ponder. Select the island. Play Ponder. Ooh, that's pretty good. We'll keep this. Pass the turn. Meticulous Archive. They play Stoneforge Mystic. Come on, go get Shuko. Come on. You want to be a combo deck this game, right? No, they find Cauldron Complete. We'll play Brainstorm. Get rid of Lorien Revealed and I think the Desire. Our hand just isn't set up to make a lot of Storm. They activate the Stoneforge Mystic. Cauldron Complete. Yep. I will take 5. Ouch. We will fetch. Grab an island. Snap is not a bad draw. Let's play the Thundertrap Trainer. It resolves. You know, I'm happy about that. We'll take Ponder. Play the Ponder. Another High Tide and a Time Spiral. Yeah, I think that this is probably a keep. We'll pass the turn. They search out an Undercity Sewers. Brainstorm. They play land number 4. Another Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. And they grab a Shuko. Basic Plains. They play the Shuko. And now they equip it to their Germ token. No blocks. I will take 8. I'm sorry, 7. And we're going to try to win. We will fetch. Grab an island. High Tide. Play another High Tide. And now we will snap on our Thundertrap Trainer, untap our lands, replay the Thundertrap Trainer. Let's take the Vexing Bauble, because the Vexing Bauble is going to protect us post Time Spiral, which is nice. And then we'll Time Spiral. Storm is 6. And that's a Fae of Wishes. We'll High Tide again. Ponder. We'll take the High Tide. Our lands tap for so many mana. Alright, we're going to snap the Thundertrap Trainer. Untap, untap. We'll play the Trainer with Offspring. So it's going to create a copy of itself. We'll take another snap. And now the Thundertrap Trainer will take Lorien Revealed. We'll tap one island to cast our Lorien Revealed. Must be nice. We'll snap the Thundertrap Trainer. Storm is now 12. Untap, untap. And our opponent concedes the match. Easy does it. Alright, so we got the 3-2. Not a bad record. Alright, so James, I'm sorry. The Vexing Baubles I just don't think are as good as Force of Will. That said, Thundertrap Trainer was the real deal. I was so impressed by this card. If I play High Tide again anytime soon, I will be playing... Well, hold on. Sorcery Speed High Tide anytime soon, I will be playing the Thundertrap Trainer. This card was very good. Definitely better than Spellseeker in my opinion. It's just I missed Force of Will so much this league, but maybe I'm wrong. If you feel that way, let me know why. But really, thank you for watching. James, thank you for the donation deck. I really do appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, keep storming. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. After you do that, open up our description where you can find all of our social media networks, including our Discord, where you can discuss today's deck in that Discord with me and tons of other combo masterminds. It's absolutely free to join, and it's certainly worth your while.